Hello, Connective. Welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you don't know how I work, I put a bunch of different cards from different decks on the table that tell a story and we talk about it. If you like the content on this channel, feel free to subscribe. Don't smash anything. And with that being said, let's get into this energy. So this is a general reading for Cancer. All the cards are already shuffled, Cancer. We're just moving them around a little bit, making them up. Then we're going to see if we can get jumpers. Let's see what energy wants to present itself for Cancer today. Anything that the energy cards want to tell us about what Cancer needs to know. We'll do this a couple more times. Messages for Cancer. One message for Cancer. I'm wondering what that card is there sitting on the table. Let's see. Anything? Energy cards. Oh, all right. All right. Would like a little bit more. Can we ask one more time? Ooh. One more time for the energy cards. All right. Okay. All right. Let's see what we had to coax out of this deck. So, wow. Okay. Patience. That's the first one that came out by itself. Let's see what we got here. All right. Second chakra, Archangel Ariel. We got second chakra. Okay, we're going to put Ariel up at the top. We also have the Temple Path, which I usually consider to be spiritual awakening. Patience, a lot of time is divine timing. We'll see if that's cornucopia. Got the cornucopia. It's basically like everything. It's a little of everything. All right, so not bad. Sometimes that patience card is a little annoying. Let's see what Alice has to say for Cancer. Alice, you want to shed some light on this reading? I guess I always see spiritual awakening, and I said in another reading recently that when angels show up, usually there's a empath or a light worker, especially light workers. Angels are always around. Temple Path here. Cornucopia usually comes up as like an offering for something, it's like a reward for something that you did, in your life. So it's like you did the right thing, so here's, anything you want to eat kind of thing. Any more? I'd like to get at least 2 more Alice cards. Oh, wow, okay. Oh. Okay. So we have, you can't go back to yesterday. Yeah. And impossible things. And use your time well. All right, you know what? Let's just pull the moons. Because I see spiritual awakening here, but I don't really see a story. I mean, I can go by what these cards signified in readings in the past and still doesn't tie into that first row there. See if the moons will tell us something. If not, we'll just pull the blind spot, see if these messages want to come through. I mean, use your time well. I've said it before, it's like being on borrowed time, but then we have patience on the table. This is like really similar to a reading that hasn't been released yet, but it's coming out this week. It's this, it was like use your time well. It was the same card, but then the time was like now, And I had even mentioned how usually divine timing is like patience, but for them, the divine timing was now. And it's like you're supposed to have patience, which means, you know, divine timing to me, like later than you want, because you have to be patient. But then you have, oh, you're supposed to be doing something. That's chakra. What is that? What is that? First quarter moon in Virgo. Assess the situation. It just wouldn't move in my hand. It wouldn't move and it wouldn't stay. It was like, here. I'm going to go through this a couple more times anyway, even if we get an extra card or whatever. You're supposed to be doing something. And you're stuck on stuff that isn't going to happen. I know that's general. I mean, I don't see a whole lot of relationship on the table. This might not be relationship. It just could be something that you really want. Passion. Why is patience on the table if it's not going to happen? What's that about? Okay. All right. You know what? I'm going to pull 3 cards. Shoot, we could end up with 4 signs on this one. All right, from the bottom, because I didn't want to talk. Let's just pull them. Let's see what they are. All right. So we have last quarter moon in Aquarius. Reflect on your priorities. We have new moon in Virgo. Trust that all will be well. And a full moon in Sagittarius. See the bigger picture. Yeah. What happened? This looks like somebody tried to change somebody. It took a long time, and the person didn't change. I don't know if they see it yet, or if they're still in it. I was going to pull a blind spot, but I'm going to wait a minute. They might not be able to see this. None of these moons wanted to come out. It's almost like it's just all hidden. And somebody was either passionate about something that they were moving towards, that they were trying to get somebody to like move towards with them, like help them. Like, I don't even know if I want to use an example because, well, let's be specific. Okay. Let's say it was buying a house. Okay. So let's say that the person really wanted to buy a house, but they wanted this other person to buy a house with them, but the other person's credit like wasn't that great or whatever. They just couldn't do it. That second person literally needed to like fix something so that they could do it. Let's just say, and the person waited a long time, either trying to get this person to fix it or waiting for the person to try to fix it. And it didn't happen on time, or it didn't happen. Like it's still going on and it hasn't, like no deadline has passed, but it still hasn't happened kind of thing. And then the other scenario is that it's not necessarily a person that someone is trying to get to help them, come along. 'Cause let's say that the person was like the passion, like they really wanted to get that person. So for the second scenario, it would be like the house itself. Like the passion was the house itself. It wasn't really trying, there was no other person involved, but maybe they were just trying to get a house, and they were trying to do stuff that they needed to get done to get the house, whatever it was, either if it was within their control or not within their control. But either literally the house never got done, or or when the house was done, the person couldn't buy it. And now they're behind. They were trying to do something, impossible things, and it didn't go. And now they're behind. They're either behind in time, just I wanted to have this done by this time and now it's not going to happen, or I needed this to be done by this time and now I don't know what I'm going to do. It's literally like an impossible situation that needs somebody to look at it and solve their way out of it because of this. It's funny because I didn't want to use the house as an example, but it's like it does like feel like a foreclosure, or like, you know, there's a lot of things that could fit that scenario though. Like if you were trying to buy something from someone and you needed to get the money, but the bank was making you wait, and then the time went by and it didn't happen and somebody else bought the thing, you know, I mean, it could be something that wasn't necessarily ever meant to be. I get now why we're doing this reading, because I see better stuff on the table. You know, I see cornucopia, the temple path. I mean, people might not care about that. I mean, I consider the temple path to almost be like, it's almost like, you know, something to walk towards, like the temple. Like when you see it in, say, let's say in your reading, it's, to me, it's like protection. It's like growth. You know, a lot of hard work got you there. So now that you're there, you're like in your place. Like you're, you know, this card means a lot when I do see it, but especially in this type of reading, it's like, it's not only like a path, but a destination. And cornucopia is like something that you can have when you get there. Like it's literally like cards number 11 and 12. You know, and usually the readings are like about like, oh, you have to do something to get there. I mean, you do. You have to recognize that this situation is what it is. You know, see the bigger picture, assess the situation. The situation is what it is. And maybe you did, maybe you didn't lose sight of something you know, you went into the situation knowing, but then somewhere maybe forgot because you were passionate about the situation. But definitely reflect on that. Reflect on your priorities, on what was important when you went in there to begin with. Make sure that you know, like, sometimes when I'm trying to do something, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be important or not important, but definitely when it's important, you know, things start to go sideways. I remind myself when I went in what my intention was, what if I had a backup plan or something where I said, you know, if this could happen, and okay, well, I'll do this then, you know. And then when things happen that way, I just kind of remember that, okay, we knew this might happen. This isn't really important to me. Or let me go back to, you know, trying to focus on what I was doing, because again, this isn't part of the bigger picture. You know, there's a lot of ways it could go for a lot of people. I mean, for some of you guys, it's just done. Something just, you can't even get it back, right? Can't go back to yesterday. You know, even when that card comes up, I'm always like, would you want to? I mean, I get not wanting to lose something, especially after you lost it. You know, sometimes when I talk like that, like the idea, the possibility of like losing someone always pops into my head. So for some people, they don't care about their stuff, but they care about their family, you know. And I get, like, if you lose someone, that feeling of loss and not being able to go back to a place where you can get them back. I mean, you sort of can, but it's, you know, even if I sat here and explained it, it wouldn't be enough for a lot of people. And I get that. So, you know, just feeling like you wish to God that you could do it over again, but you know, you can't like turn back the clock. Then definitely make sure that your priorities are in check, what you started, the intention that you started with as you're reflecting on this, you know, and definitely assess the situation, you know, by see the bigger picture when you assess the situation. Don't just, you know, put your own, when you assess the situation, don't run through it in, you know, in fear or anger. You know, you have to really, really look at and see the bigger picture as kind of not only looking at it from all sides and all angles, but looking at all aspects of it. And then the last thing is that you need to trust that all will be well. You know, a lot of times people, when they get in situations, they're very upset and they don't know what's going to happen to them, like specifically what's going to happen to them. And so they're afraid for themselves, you know, and a lot of times people who just know that they'll be taken care of, however that is, they just do better. Their energy does better, especially in situations where things are kind of devastating. Knowing that they're going to be okay is just a lot better than being so unsure about it and having fear, you know, whatever that situation is. Again, we're talking about using energy to try to, you know, if a situation is going on, definitely not make it worse. Hopefully, maybe we can even improve it, you know, just by the way we're handling it. It's possible. All right, so what have we got? It's number 61. This is an interesting looking sigil. That's what it looks like. Let's see what it is. This is going to be our blind spot. This is going to be the thing that's either probably, you know, caused or helped whatever thing happened, or it's a block or something in some way that's not really helping us or letting us deal with it. Number 61, temporality. Let's see. All right, so it's talking about here. It's talking about being like, what's the word it used? Too attached to the temporal, or an aspect of the temporal. Let me just read part of this. Okay, if you have drawn this sigil, what is preventing your progression is that you are either too attached to the temporal in general or to an aspect of the temporal. This has caused you to lose sight of the bigger picture. See, the bigger picture is on the table. Which includes much more than the temporal world. You might be looking for a solution that does not exist in the temporal world. Again, impossible things. That is like looking for a lost key, but being convinced that the key is somewhere in one specific room and never finding it because the key you are looking for is not even in that room. The temporal world is a world of the purely physical. It is particles, body, color, shape, soma, physical health, this physical aspect of sex, money, houses, places, things, the physical aspect of food, plants, people, and pets, possessions, etc. It is the realm of the material. So invested in the physical. Yeah. More to universe than meets the eye. You've forgotten that there's more to the universe than meets the eye. So this is, again, what we're talking about. I mean, these cards here of seeing the bigger picture and assessing the situation and reflecting on your priorities and trusting that all will be well. This is kind of all like high vibe stuff that people would do to get out of stuff. And you know, a really good example of that, it's a little bit unrelated, but I don't know. I guess if you took the right situation, it would fit right into this picture. But is people who were like wrongly accused of a crime and then spent like a couple decades in like prison and didn't actually do it. The people that didn't actually do it, they're, in order for them to come out of, once somebody figures out that they didn't do it and they're let out, for them to not be angry at the world or even angry at one specific person is a small miracle. It takes work. It takes work. It takes for somebody to just be in a situation and know that all will be well. You know, that they can't go back to yesterday talking about use your time well. Use your time well. Right? They get out into the world. They've had a little patience. They're passionate again about what's out there. And all this is available to them because they kept an open mind. They didn't carry hate. They weren't so upset that they, started to get sick. So, I don't know how serious this situation is. I feel like it could be anything from a light scale to a heavy scale. And again, patience is on the table. So, I mean, it's almost like something that like takes time that could just keep getting worse, right? I mean, it really is telling you to like keep your head up. To realize that there's more to this than what's happening in the now. Like, a lot of people, when things are bad enough, they'll tell people, if you believe in a God, pray to them, or, and you can certainly do that here. There's nothing saying that you can't talk to a higher power or anything. I do think that this is moving in a positive direction. Like ultimately, even if you're in the middle of it and it just looks bad, this work here, yes, but again, it doesn't seem like it's like a mountain that's in front of you. I suppose it would depend on how much you can, grasp some of these concepts. It's almost like the lessons that you need to learn are right here on the table. Like if you just got a pen out and wrote down, like, use your time well, see the bigger picture, assess the situation, reflect on your priorities, trust that all will be well, and you can't go back to yesterday, like you would progress. You would succeed. I was going to say graduate in the beginning. I mean, maybe it's like a lesson. I mean, see find the lesson isn't on the table, but use your time well. Sometimes to me, when there's a cycle involved, that means that if you don't get it soon, you're going to have to repeat it, right? Even though you're doing the same thing again, you can't go back to, you're not in yesterday. It might feel like it. You can't. And look at things from all sides. Don't look at the past and forget about the bad stuff and then focus on bad stuff now and not see the good stuff. Don't do all that. You have to trust that all will be well. So that really is the most I can say with these cards that are on the table right now. Well, aside from the fact of, paying attention to your second chakra, and that's what I consider be like the passion and the, creativity and at least one of the places. But, if something happened and you feel like you're losing that, pay attention. If you're in the middle of something, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but it hasn't ended yet. Have patience. This really does seem like a lesson. It really does seem like something that was like laid out before you by yourself, because when we come down here with lessons, we plan them out for ourselves. So this really does seem like something that you laid out for yourself. You just got to learn some things. You just learn that whatever nostalgia that you might have, it's not going to help you out, especially if a lot of it was negative, or if it was just a let's just call it a downward spiral. You know, it could be anything that was starting to sink that took a while, you know. And even though during that time you might have had fun, like say if it was a failing relationship, like that person might have been fun, or you might have had fun times while, you know, I mean, sometimes if you're sensitive enough, Cancer, and I know you are, sometimes in a relationship we kind of see like where it starts to deteriorate, or we start to see, you know, in that person that they're not as sensitive as we thought, or, you know, so, you know, maybe the first time we get our feelings hurt, you know, then that's like where it stops being, you know, perfect. And then as time goes by, you know, you have a couple fun times and then we get our feelings hurt again. And you kind of like can look at this relationship and see, you know, that you wouldn't necessarily want to go back to yesterday. Especially if you've had another relationship in the past that was just better, because you can already see it. You can say that wasn't all that great, and I've had better, and it's fine, you know. And then you can kind of move on to the next lesson, which is, you know, reflecting on your priorities, or, you know, assessing the situation. Maybe that was assessing the situation, but now you just kind of have to, see that bigger picture of why did I have to go through that? What was the thing that I was going to learn? You know, if you didn't learn the thing, I mean, if you will, or, you know, if you're actively trying and you haven't, you will. If you haven't thought about it, then I would definitely move in that direction. Because again, you know, if you don't, you're going to have to repeat it. It'll be hard to spot too. It won't be like, you know, something you can control. Like some people say stuff sometimes. They're like, oh, great. You know, I really like that person. I wouldn't mind, you know, being in a relationship with that person again. You go, well, no, it's not going to be that person when we say repeat it. And then they go, oh, well, I wouldn't mind being with a person like that person, you know, and you're like, okay, but, you know, it's the same thing. It'll be the same thing. I mean, remember that reason why you got out of it? It'll be the same thing. Sometimes we do it unconsciously. We pick someone that reminds us of someone else, and then thinking we're going to get that, but we might even get it too. But we might not be. It might not be the thing that we're asking for, you know, because we forgot about some of the negative stuff, or just that one thing we didn't like, right? But then we happen to draw that one thing that we didn't like in, you know. Again, reflect on your priorities and trust. I couldn't remember that first word. Trust that all will be well. Just realize that you don't have forever to either assess or reflect. Trust can take a little bit of time, but if you're holding on to impossible things, or if you like are truly just holding on to yesterday, that's not going to help you out a whole lot. And remember, we're still working towards, well, we're working on or towards, if we do want to look at this as a, you know, like a destination, but then we also have our cornucopia. I mean, if you walked into a party and saw that thing on the table, wouldn't it, you know, you would kind of be like, is there anything I want? You know, you just want to look at everything just to see what it was that you wanted to choose, you know, or if you wanted all of it. So, again, not much to do, but just that regular stuff that you're supposed to do when you get out of a relationship. You know, why did this happen? Did I do something? Is there something I need to correct? Is this something that somebody else completely brought and I just need to process it and let it go so it doesn't come back? You know, especially because we don't want it to come back. Even if it wants to come back, right? It's gonna be a new experience anyway. We're not gonna, it's not like reliving anything, you know. Reflecting on those priorities. What do we want now that this is done? What is it we really want or wanted in the first place, right? Did we get away from that? See the bigger picture. Just look at it from a... Several things went through my head. It was like the difference between assessing it yourself and asking an outsider. And I don't know if I particularly suggest asking an outsider. Some people, you know, they see things great, but then some people, you know, their will and their, I was trying to think of another word, but, you know, their own stuff is on top of it. So sometimes that's not really helpful to you. And it probably is easier to trust that all will be well if you just rely on your own, you know, impossible things. Sometimes I'm not necessarily holding on to something, but I'm thinking about something like, why did this happen this way? What was the deal with this? And sometimes I see the thing that was kind of big that made it impossible for either for me to get what I wanted or for the situation to be, you know, what I wanted it to be or whatever. I mean, there's so many ways that you could look at that, but you just kind of look and you go, oh, that was never going to work because of this, you know, and, you know, seeing that, especially before a situation happens, but definitely while you're in it, can save you a lot of stuff because then you don't have to keep trying at something that just doesn't go through, you know, and then it puts you behind for whatever you're trying to do. If this isn't putting you behind, if this just makes you feel like you wasted your time, like with someone or with something, again, I would suggest that that you see, that you know, assess the situation and see the bigger picture, or really, you know, to me saying really look at the situation, especially reveal your priorities, because you can look at the situation for exactly what it was, but then you could take that third component and like introduce what you wanted from it and figure out, you know, either where it went wrong or why you got let down or whatever that, you know, whatever happened that didn't, you know, like I keep saying, get you what you wanted. You know, sometimes it's a really small thing too. Sometimes the thing that we ask for is not that big of a deal. It's just either someone isn't capable of giving it to us, or maybe we didn't assess properly how we would really feel when we had that thing, and now we don't feel the way we thought we would. I mean, it's totally possible. So again, you always go back to, even if all this stuff is failing miserably, trusting that all will be well, and you'll just be so much better off. We're going to move this to the extended. We're going to pull the healing cards and a little bit of angel guidance and see what's going on. Cancer, if this is your reading, meet us over in the extended. The description is going to be, the link's going to be in the description. And if not, until we meet again.